All right, what's going on, everybody? Today we are going to be talking about the Candyman. First, I will be reviewing the 1992 movie, and then we'll be looking ahead and talking about what we might be able to expect from the 2020 film that is coming out later this year. So, as for starters, Candyman, the original, was released in 1992 and was directed by Bernard Rose. Candyman tells the story of a grad student who is trying to find the truth behind an urban legend. The legend says that a young man was tortured and killed at the same location as a Chicago housing project and will come alive and kill anyone that says his name 5 times while looking into a mirror. So I think most people, just in the general public, have heard of this before. It's something that a lot of kids and teenagers will say, let's try to say Candyman 5 times in the mirror and actually see if anything happens. And of course, nothing happens. But this is where that came from. And actually, for a while, when I was growing up, I knew about the urban legend and everything, but I never knew there was actually a movie. I will say, upon seeing this, though, is not really what I expected. Despite the premise of summoning the Candyman and the urban legend itself maybe being a little cheesy, the movie actually took a good spin and take on the story. Some may argue that this is more of a psychological horror film than just a killer slash like slasher film. I think that's an accurate assessment in my opinion. Mostly because while of course there is killing, gore, and violence, I think the main terror, the main horror, and most of the fear that is imposed on the main characters we see in this film is more of a mental or psychological kind of scare. And I think that's one of the things that I really didn't know about this, that I was kind of surprised. Not to give away any spoilers and keep this as vague as possible, but I didn't realize the different forms and ways the Candyman went about inflicting evil or pain on people. If you've seen the movie, I think you will understand what I'm getting at by saying that, but I want to keep it vague and not ruin it for anyone. Just a quick side note, something that I'm going to start to try to do in these reviews more often is talk about a particular scene in the movie, like what my favorite scene was, just something that I thought was really cool. And I'll start out with this. So, actually, one of my favorite introductory scenes to a villain or monster or just an antagonist in any movie wasn't this. The scene where Helen, who is played by Virginia Madsen, is first introduced to the Candyman in the parking garage. Despite this being 1992 and maybe some certain like technical effects not being the best, this was still pretty creepy, and especially since it's a scene that's shot in daylight, it was pretty impressive for the team that worked on this movie to get that kind of effect where it's someone speaking out loud but only one person can hear it because they're like entranced in something. And I think as far as this movie goes, that's probably the most iconic scene. So a running theme that I noticed in this film is the symbolism of the people living in poverty and how the land is now cursed due to what happened to the Candyman when he was alive. And not to say that this movie is super political or anything, but I think there's some symbolism there. I think the Candyman's pain and what he experienced and how he was tortured, and now it's just kind of like the whole land is just filled with his grief, and it seems like people can't shake it. And if you're born into it, it's kind of like a lifelong curse. So as many twists as there are in this movie, I was starting to feel like it was one too many. Like I said before, not really being exactly what I expected it to be was nice. It was definitely refreshing, but with this, it was, I don't want to say hard to follow. I just think unnecessary. With certain like kills or like with certain scares in the movie, a lot of times it would be not like a dream sequence, but like for example, the main character Helen something would happen and you wouldn't realize what actually happened, and you weren't able to put everything together until the entire scene was over with. And maybe that was just overloading the audience with a little too much substance instead of just letting the story play out. But I'd say that's more of a nitpick kind of criticism than just something that was so bad I couldn't even take it. So, like I said, maybe just one too many twists, but overall, it kept the story interesting. Like I said before, it kept it fresh. And for a film that could have easily just been thrown away and could have had a story that didn't really have much care put into it, just because of the simplicity of like an urban legend or something, especially one of the most popular urban legends that there is. I think the production team and the director went about it the right way overall. So I'm going to give Candyman, the 1992 original version, a 3 out of 5. Solid movie. It was better than I expected, and I'm happy it wasn't as shallow as I thought it might be. So now moving on to the 2020 installment of Candyman. This is going to be directed by Nia DaCosta. She directed Little Woods. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not familiar with it. I had to look it up before I made the video. I think it's a drama. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that film is pretty well respected and it's garnered a lot of attention. So I'm excited to see what she does with this film. Another thing that's super exciting about this, and who has their hands on this film, working on it behind the scenes, is Jordan Peele, who honestly, to me, is either the second or third best director working in horror today. Ari Aster is number one. I'm sorry, no one's going to be able to change my mind. But Jordan Peele is a genius, and Ari Aster, I think, is just overall the best. But I think Jordan Peele is the most unique, and Jordan Peele is, to me, exactly what the genre needs. This was actually supposed to come out early this summer, I believe, but post production had to be delayed till September 25th, 2020, due to COVID-19. So September 25th is the release date as of right now. When I looked the film up earlier, it said it was in post production. So I feel as this September 25th is definitely going to be a reachable date, but we will see. Either way, I think 2020 is 1000% going to be the year for this movie. I don't see it getting pushed 4 or 5 whole months back from September after it was already pushed back. And like I said, the film is pretty much wrapped up at this point. So this modern installment, however, takes place after the Cabrini Green projects have been torn down, in which a visual artist and his girlfriend then move in to a new condo and soon learn about the real dark truth of the Candyman. The artist begins to use this as muse for his new pieces and eventually pays the price for entering this world. This stars Yahya Abdul Mateen II and Tayana Paris. I'm very excited to see where this new installment gets taken, and I would love nothing more than to see the psychological, I would say the journey through someone's mind, I guess you could say. If they could take that and kind of infuse it with the story, I think it would be brilliant. One last thing I will say, if you want to see this movie and you have not yet seen the trailer, don't watch the trailer. Just don't. The main reason I say that is because I'm not going to glorify this and I'm not going to even talk about it. There's something in the trailer that I feel is really revealing, and I cannot understand why they would put that in a trailer. But then again, we all know how much trailers can suck. But there's a 2-second clip in there that I feel like just gives away so much. I can't begin to understand it. So just don't watch the trailer if you haven't. But we can hope for the best and hope that it's not what we expect to be. But as always, thank you guys again for watching. I'm going to continue this, trying to get a video posted every week. And since I just did another review, I think my next video is going to be something other than a review. Everybody stay safe and have a good one.